Hello, good evening, everyone. Here I come again every Tuesday, bringing up a very informative session on various subjects. And today we have a great topic that we always, wonder about, have many questions about, and that topic is karmic connections and learning from it. Now, again, as I said earlier, this is a topic that we have discussed many a times. We talk about it, we wonder about it, that what is this karmic connections that we have with various people, various and how it affects various aspects of our life, because we all have karmic connections with each other, with many people, and that it begins to kind of make sense to us. Some doesn't make sense to us, and we kind of wonder what these karmic connections really mean for us. Okay, so the guest that I've invited, she's here, Tamanna, and she's just going to join us now. And so thank you, Omi Sabu, for joining us. Hi, Tamanna.
Hi, Aarti. So good to see you.
Good to see you too. How are you?
I've been very well, Aarti. It's been a very long time since I've seen you all.
Exactly. It's been a long time. I think you haven't been in Dubai as well.
I can't hear you.
See, this connection is okay. Yeah, the connection was lost for some time. So I was
No,
just saying that, it's been some time that you haven't come to Dubai. So maybe sometime in next near future we'll see you.
hopefully, inshallah, I'll be there soon.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, I mean, many of you know Tamanna, some of you may not know, but Tamanna is a coach, spiritual guide, and a healer, and she's a psychic. Now, I have known her for quite some time, and she's a wonderful person. She brings up a very practical perspective to spirituality and learning and things, and she has been my guide for quite some time. I've learned a lot from her. Thank you all for joining us today. I'll just kind of introduce this subject, and there we can take it. I mean, we, even in my profession, I'm a coach and therapist, but we again, overall believe that we are all spiritual being in human experiences. And my interest in this aspect of karmic connections come from the idea that our connections to various things and people in our life generates our emotions, generates our experiences, be it mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual, and how it kind of really affects us. It generates emotions. So some emotions work for us and some doesn't work for us. So that's where my interest comes in this karmic connections. So many things I even don't know about karmic connections I'm going to learn today. So my first question to you, Tamanna, is that what is karmic connection, and is it always like painful, or is it always about the relationship, or it's also about places?
It's cracking. You think we can do something about the connection? Because your voice is cracking.
Okay, maybe it's just the traffic. Because
Right now, it just keeps going on and off. So to answer your question, Aarti, uh, there are different kinds of karmic relationships we share with people, and we say that every person in our life is there for a reason, and those reasons are divided into three categories. Number one is it's a karmic connection or karmic contract. Now, when I say it's a karmic contract, it means that you have chosen in some dimension to attract that person in your life, or vice versa. Maybe the person has chosen to attract you fulfill a certain form of energy exchange. So today, sometimes we attract people in our life as someone who will boost our confidence, or someone who will help us with spiritual guidance, or someone who will give us a direction or a push in the right kind of work, or someone who will help you find a job, or it could be a friend who's always emotionally there for you, or it could be your parents, it could be your partner who are there for you for a particular energy exchange. And also in return from your side, there's a different energy exchange. So when a contract, it's a mutual exchange of energies for mutual growth of one another. Unfortunately, when there is when we don't learn our karmic lessons, and when we don't let go of our fears, judgments within those relationships, the diameters of this relationship, it leads to pain within those relationships. But that does not mean that the person is there in your life to cause pain or discomfort in any way. Connection is. Now, in terms of a karmic lessons are what you're talking about is much more painful, because these people are meant to kind of teach you a lesson. They come as a teacher format or a teacher connection, and they're learn the lesson. There is a lot of pain. It's like you've been pushed against the wall. You've been pushed against all odds in order to learn the lesson. So there are two situations in which you can learn the lesson. Either you learn the lesson in their presence, or you learn the lesson in their absence. So sometimes, even when we share attachment away, though the relationship could have been short lived, in their absence, we learn a lot of our own lessons. So that's what a karmic lesson is. So what you were talking about is something with a lot more pain and discomfort, is what karmic lessons teach you. And then there is another connection or a karmic relationship that we share with people, is a past life incompletion. So in our present lifetime, we've attracted new contracts, we've attracted new people, but also certain connections or certain relationships that have been left incomplete in our past life. We have attracted their presence in this lifetime in order to kind of complete the karmic balance or release of karma. So every relationship into these three formats. So with every person, it could be a different connection.
Okay, okay. There is some issue with the network right now. Do we want to reconnect it? Do you think it will be better to reconnect it? Sorry, there has been some issue with the connection. Yes, and I will definitely ask this question: can karmic connection be corrected? So let's see. Let her join back, and then we'll be able to ask her more question, because there seemed to be some issue with the network connection today. It's quite. Sometimes this network just plays that. Yes, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So I was coming back to the three different kinds of karmic relationships. Is one is a karmic contract, which is a mutual exchange of energies for mutual benefit. One is a karmic lesson, which gets a lot more tougher when we don't learn the lesson. So either the person's presence or the absence teaches us a lesson. And one is a karmic past life incompletion, where something that's been left incomplete in the past life is come back in this lifetime for fulfillment or release.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, that's where, my interest is, because what happens with people that there is a whole lot of, psychology behind it. It's not that psychology doesn't recognize this aspect of it. There is this psychologist called Walsh and Vaughan in 1993. They talk about something called transpersonal psychology. And this is about having experiences more than your individuality, more than your individual who you are, something that an individual doesn't understand in the context of the society that they live in, or or the country or their own context of community they live in, because these generates that kind of connections, and that gives you experiences which again, as you said, it can be painful, where we mainly understand the pain of it rather than the lesson of it. And they talked about a lot about this, as having overall experiences, which is trans experience, which goes beyond our individual boundaries. Even Carl Jung talked about it as a collective consciousness, and how, and that's where our past experiences and the past memory that comes from. So even in psychology, they recognize this as that. But I understand that you focus from the aspect of the soul and the spirit and all that. So my question to you here is that how does it really define the relationship? And many a times, people in our profession, people ask me, why me? Why me? How we have to go through these experiences in life, and what does this various connection teaches us?
Okay, so why me? That's a question that everyone goes through. Why am I the one going through problems and repeated patterns? It's not only you. Maybe you're the first one to talk about it, but everyone else is going through problems. I'm sure, you're a therapist, and before you became a therapist, you thought that a certain problem or a behavior pattern was only with you. And the more you meet other people and the more you consult with other people, you realize that, oh, it's not only my pattern, it's also a pattern in other people. So this is something that everyone's going through collective consciously. It's just that not everyone comes out and talks about it. Number one, we are a part of the collective consciousness, and the reason that why me or why us is because we have decided to incarnate in this lifetime, in this body, to scrape through old behavior patterns and vibrate at a higher frequency. So why you is because you have made a choice on a soul level to incarnate and go through life to push yourself to a higher degree or a higher frequency. So going through problems is because you made a choice. It's like today you're going to school and you're telling the class teacher before exam, but why do I have to give the exam? The teacher will tell
Yeah.
you, because you've chosen to educate yourself and because you've chosen to sit for a certain class and you've chosen certain subjects, that's why you have to go through an exam. But just because we've chosen something does not mean we've been exempted from, the test of it or from the learnings of it. Your choice does not happen by just making a choice. Your choice also happens with choosing that path every single day. So to coming back, why me is because you have to learn those lessons, and in some lifetime or in the past situations in this lifetime you've not learned those lessons. You felt you were exempted from it. You chose to take a shortcut, and sooner or later, it catches up. Life catches up on all of us, and so do these lessons. And when you keep evading it, when you keep living in denial, or when you are turning up, a deaf ear to those lessons, or just constantly being in denial, it catches up, and the lessons get much more tougher or much more difficult with each passing situation, with each passing relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is out of even my curiosity. I mean, what is it that in this whole cosmic design that we forget about our own contract? This always baffles me, even as an individual. I go through my experiences and my life, and I wonder why me again. Why I have to go through this. I've learned a lot, but I still go through it. And what is it in that design that we forget about our own contract, we forget about our own lessons that we need to learn? Why is it so?
So as you started the conversation that we are all souls going through human experiences, everything that we are talking about, everything which is a karmic blueprint, Aarti, has been written in the language of the soul. And the soul remembers everything. We are a very intelligent species of being, and we as souls are super aware. We are a part of the consciousness and we are a part of divine life, and we are extremely aware and extremely conscious. But when we come back in earth form, in human form, Firstly, it's the growing up behavior patterns, it's the fears, insecurities rubbed on onto us by our parents, our society, the pressure of being in a certain way, of doing certain things which fit into our personality self. So there is what I call the vertical part and the horizontal part. The vertical part are the steps that take you closer to your soul self. The horizontal part are the personality traits. You know what I mean? So today, as a soul self, Aarti has certain aspirations. She has a certain wisdom. But as a personality self, Aarti is, say, a mother of two. She's a, clinical hypnotherapist. She lives in Dubai. She has a certain way of being, a certain demeanor, a certain way of dressing up, a certain way of behaving. Similarly for me, as a soul, I could be an old soul who's kind of, gone through experiences, but by the personality self, I'm a 36-year-old girl who's living in Bombay and, doing things that a 36-year-old would want to do. So that constant, fluctuation between 1 minute you're living from the personality self, 1 minute you're living from the soul self, the duality where we are unable to choose a path and continue. Today, even if we choose a part of personality self, we start feeling guilty that we are not, taking care of our spiritual needs. And then the minute we go towards completely towards spirituality, we get FOMO of, oh my God, we are missing out on what people our age should be doing. So it's the
Yeah,
duality in our very nature, the bipolarity in our very nature that, the human body keeps shuffling between the personality and the soul self is why we forget our lessons. It can be very confusing. Because the
yeah.
soul really knows why you're here. But the
Hmm.
personality, the ego self is constantly, yeah, we are here for that, but let us also do this, but also let us do that. It is only human. Everyone else is doing it, so let us also do it and get away with it. So because
Yeah.
we are not able to make that choice of choosing to one path, the recognition of our journey doesn't come to us easily.
Okay. Okay. So there is this some kind of, a kind of an inner conflict that kind of, really, goes on, in our life. And it's like, again, from my, coaching and therapy point of view, I may not talk in terms of karmic connections, but I talk in terms of the patterns in the life or the patterns in the relationship. Living in Dubai, the relationships are like so fragile in many ways. In many relationships, the young relationship or the old relationship. So I focus on the patterns in a relationship. What is it is that trying to teach you? What is it that you need to kind of either let go or learn from it? And how it kind of impacts your life. It could be impact on your emotional states. So emotional states could be anxiety or the fears or the guilt or the shame and the anger that a person goes through as a result of not learning those lessons that a connection or a karmic connection is like teaching you. So it's about again, it's also about a lot about forgiveness, because relationship is like it's a complex mix of so many different experiences and exchanges. So I tend to focus on these aspects of the emotions. So do you think that when we work on these emotions and learn this lesson, because again, as a human experience, the emotions really defines who we are. So do you think that helps us in learning our lessons in this karmic connections and that we have with other people?
So, this question is very simple yet very complex and there are a lot of gradients to it. So, you started off by talking about how we keep going through conflicts. We need to understand what exactly a conflict is and why a conflict arises. A conflict arises because of denial and because we are not in a state of acceptance, because there's resistance to accept. The minute you
Yes.
accept something, there's absolutely no conflict. And I'm going to deviate and go back to what I spoke about. The reason why we are going through what we are going through and we are not kind of being able to get a grasp about our lessons and the patterns is because, like I said, we are constantly shuffling in duality between the vertical path and the horizontal path. And what happens is there's a lot of guilt attached. The minute we start moving towards spirituality, and suppose we are forgetting our personality part, there's guilt, or there are people making you feel guilty. The minute we kind of start walking towards the personality part, that could be the need of the hour, we feel guilty. So the major driving factor is the factor of guilt and shame, which even if other people around us are not doing that, Aarti, we are doing that onto ourselves. And
That's
that's
what I'm
where
saying.
self-love, self-acceptance, self-trust comes from. Whenever there's a lack of self-acceptance, self-love, love, self-power, it's very easy for shame and guilt to creep in. It just needs those cracks for shame and guilt to get a grip on us. The minute we master these four lessons of loving yourself, doing whatever you think in that moment is right for you, taking power, trusting yourself, knowing that no matter what the outside world thinks of you, you know yourself better, to have that self trust and
Yeah,
also self acceptance. There will not be any room for external world to creep in. Whenever there's a crack in the wall, it's very easy for leakage to happen.
exactly.
So there's a
Exactly.
crack. We not learned these four pillars towards ourselves of self-love, self-acceptance, self-power, and self-trust. We why anger comes in. Why do we need to forgive? Why do we need to kind of work on shame? Why do we need to work on letting go? Is because these four pillars towards ourselves are not rock solid. And when these four lessons are not learned, then we have to start learning all the other lessons. It's like today in math. Let's take, for example, we need to learn the four basics of math is plus, minus, addition, and subtraction. Oh, sorry, plus,
Yeah.
minus, addition, division. No,
And division.
addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Now, when you work on these four formulas, everything else becomes a lot easier. Algebra becomes easy, geometry becomes easy. Then it becomes very easy to solve any formula. But if you've
Exactly.
not got the basics right, then no matter how intelligent you are, you will keep coming back to basics. So the
Really.
prime
Yeah.
purpose of lessons is, like I said, acceptance, trust, self-power, and self-love. And when you don't learn these lessons, then all the other lessons start crumbling down. So no matter how much you've learned forgiving other people, no matter how much you've learned how to stand up for yourself, no matter how much you've learned to let go, no matter how much you learn to kind of get a grip on your anger, you will keep coming back to these basic lessons. So, like
True.
you said, what are those patterns? Patterns are basically, cracks in the wall which are not fulfilled or healed completely, and they keep cracking up.
Yeah.
So it's
Mm.
very important. Patterns are basically an indication that something from the root has not been eradicated or something on the root has not been treated.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's again, self love itself is a very big learning experience, or a learning pillar, your basic foundation, because again, it's like a when we get rid of anger, guilt, and shame, it's like what is left is how we were born with, how we were born, like, beautiful angels, like children, babies, infants, and it's the society that puts, different layers of belief system, experiences, what we go through as, children, it just builds into not loving yourself, and that creates all this negative kind of emotion. So uh, you know is there anything called having no karmic connection with somebody? I mean, is there anything like that?
Absolutely. Sometimes, the personality self, I'm talking about purely the personality self, lands up getting attracted to people in our life, in our social space, in our primary space, be it at work or be it in social gatherings. And we just kind of start, being blinded by the personality selves of them. So what really happens is it's like our personality is getting attracted to their personality or their way of behavior patterns, and we start building a connection or we start building a bond with them. And sooner or later, cracks start showing up, and these bonds don't last for long. So basically, it means that there is no soul connection. The connection is on personality to personality. It's not from a soul to personality or a personality or soul to soul. It's just basically a personality attracting another personality, which can be a passing phase. So sometimes you also have people in our lives who are just like, who are just like props hanging around, who are not adding any value to us, or neither we are adding any value into their life, but they are just there as a part of furniture, and that's a point of no connection.
Okay, okay. Wonderful. I really like this distinction, in the way you explained it in the horizontal and vertical connection, like soul to soul, and horizontal is mainly, I think, personality.
My next book, which is actually in the process, is actually about the vertical. It's called The Vertical Path. So in that book, I'm really spoken about the lessons that we really need to learn in order to get on. It's going to be a series of 3 books. So the first book
Okay.
should be out time, hopefully by August. So it's actually called The
Wonderful.
Vertical Path. Yeah, so in that I've
Okay.
shown a lot of light because people keep asking me, Tamana, what are those different 44 lessons that but it's not something that we can really cover in a live Insta, or it's not something we can do on an IGTV because it's so vast, it's not something I can even talk about it in one book,
Yeah.
but it's
Mm.
important. And what is important to enjoy the balance. Buddha rightly said that the balance is so important. It's never about what path is right for you, too much of
Exactly.
spirituality is also too bad, and too much of personality is also too bad. And I think our life is all about striking the right balance of what really brings you peace in that moment.
Yeah. Somebody just posted a question here that how to bring that balance in our life. I mean, as you are saying about the balance, how to bring that?
It's all about the 4 pillars. Now, today, I'll tell you how we all operate. Now, I'm a spiritualist. Now, if I post something and I'm expressing anger, people message me, oh, you are a psychic, you are a healer, you can't get angry. How can you? In that moment, if I'm feeling angry, all I need to do is acknowledge that I am a human and it's okay for me to feel angry rather than giving into what people expect from me. Now, I'm not
Exactly.
disrupting somebody else, but I'm acknowledging my anger. That
Yeah.
part, it is that point of self acceptance, of allowing yourself to feel a certain emotion without judging it as good, bad, ugly, and without giving to the judgment of, oh my God, I have to please people. Oh my God, just because I'm a psychic, I can't be angry. I have to be. So neither I'm faking it, nor I'm going on a rampage, but I'm just acknowledging it and being present to it. That acknowledgement is what will take you closer towards the balance. We are constantly dismissing, oh, I'm a spiritualist. I can't eat mutton. I can't eat chicken. I shouldn't be drinking. These are all rules and norms. And what happens is, Arti, you will also understand that the minute we kind of get onto a spiritual path or we become a life coach, people's perceptions changes. They're like, oh, but you must do this and you must not do this. It
I
is
agree.
what will
Yeah.
keep you balanced is closing your eyes and closing your ears and doing what brings you peace at that point.
True.
If on a
True.
I want to sit and enjoy a drink with my friends and I just want to chill and not deal with people's problems, and if that's going to be bringing me peace, in me doing that, I'm being authentic to myself.
True.
I'm not
True.
giving into the guilt, oh, I can't be doing this and I must always be helping people. No. And on the day, I may just want to cancel out a lunch with friends and focus on work or focus on writing a book. And I'm not going to be feeling guilty, oh, why didn't I go with my friends? Why am I soaked up in work? It's
Yeah.
about what brings you peace at that point in time without stepping on someone else's life or without pulling other people down.
True, absolutely, absolutely. This comes with the idea of the self love, self trust, and that clarity of you who you are, and what are your putting yourself first. in a way that is more fulfilling for you. Recently, I mean, maybe about 2 months back, I had like some put up some rant about myself, and people was started sending me message that, oh, you are an emotional intelligence coach, how can you be feeling that? I said that's the whole point of it, that I'm just acknowledging that even I go through it, even I go through my own emotions of sadness or anxiety or fear. But the difference is that I accept it, I process it, and I bounce back. That would be my way of processing that whole emotions, because whether we like it or not, these emotions are going to be felt, they are going to come. It's
True.
the balance, as you rightly said, is in the acceptance and acknowledgement of it.
Also, Aarti, unfortunately, and I need to bring this up right now, and because I'm sure you've heard of, this famous celebrity actor passing away, and all of a sudden people are talking about depression and emotional and mental well-being. I don't understand that why are emotions supposed to be negative? I don't think, and this is a lot got to do with our upbringing. I don't think parents really teach their children to acknowledge their emotions, be it a man or be it a girl child or a boy child. I don't think we as a human race, we all say we are emotional and sensitive, but no one is an acknowledgement of their own emotions, nor they're okay with other people's emotions being acknowledged.
True,
And that
true.
is one of the biggest disease as a collective consciousness we are going through, because that's why it's such a frustrated community, because there's so
Yeah.
much of suppression. In order to look good, they're constantly suppressing emotions because they term emotions as being negative, and
Yes,
that's
it's,
wrong.
yeah, yeah, it's
Emotions is
wrong. Yeah.
negative. Just because you're
Mm.
expressing your emotions, it could be anger, it could be any form of frustration, irritation, does not mean it's a sign of a negative person.
True, absolutely not. And for us, it's more like, so these are different responses or response programs that are not working for you. And if it starts affecting your life, your relationship in a certain way, yes, there is a way to kind of, reprogram it, to relearn it. You learn to, process it. And as you have said, I even in my videos, I always talk about process your emotions, because in a day's time you go through so many emotions and people want to put it aside the moment they feel either anxiety or fear or guilt or shame or any other negative emotion. They want to put it aside, say, okay, let me get a drink or let me do this one. So, there the whole idea of learning from yourself, from your emotion, and the freedom of, you as an individual just kind of gets lost because you are just wanting to kind of, put it aside, uh, uh,
Absolutely.
because it's just
Constantly made,
uncomfortable.
we're constantly made to feel guilty that no, you're not allowed to feel emotional.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we were talking a little bit about, not having karmic connection. So, can we just kind of wrap it up in another question by, saying what when we don't have karmic connection? How do we, how do people can begin to process that?
Okay, firstly, when you don't have a karmic connection, like I said, their role in your life is redundant. So no matter how much you expect from them or they expect from you, you will always be unfulfilled. They will be there to help other people, but whenever it comes to helping you or being there for you, there'll be a miss. Or no matter what advice they give you, no matter how much emotionally or spiritually or financially they are there for you, it's not going to manifest into your life. Are you getting my point? So
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
their essence
absolutely.
into your life is going to go to waste, and what will happen is you will not be acknowledging them, or vice versa. Sometimes what happens is we keep doing for people in our life because we feel attracted to them or we feel attached to them, and we feel that it's not adding any value to their life, or they're not appreciating, or they are kind of just completely ignoring or dismissing our efforts, means that we are not meant to be doing that for them. So
Yeah.
what really happens is when you allow these people without a strong karmic connection in your life to hang on in your energetic space, you are expelling a lot of energy in keeping that relationship going. So you're investing energy, but there is no returns on that energy investment. And eventually, sooner or later, you're like, you know what, I'm done. I'm exhausted. I'm done giving in. I'm done giving in. I'm tired of this. I don't want this relationship anymore. It could be a relationship in a romantic behavior. It could be a friend. It could be a business partner. It could be a work colleague. We all reach a point saying that there is there's no growth in this. And initially we are like, no, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. But sooner or later, we've all been through that one or two relationships, be it in terms of friendship, that we're like, you know what, it's done. Like, I don't connect to this person.
Yeah.
Which means it's let go rather than just keep hanging on as a dead furniture in their life or vice versa.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I mean, it makes sense, because as you said, that how vertically you personality, your horizontally personality meets, but then you don't have the connection, and then it gets into your, energy, like kind of, it just takes away your energy in every aspect of your, life. Now, this is again, a question that has, baffled me for a long time. So when we come talk about karmic connection, where does all these things fits into, like say, physical abuse or mental abuse, or people committing suicide because of somebody else, or meeting accidents, where does all that fit into karmic connection, and what it is not, from this whole spectrum of incidences?
Yeah, so of course, suicide and accidents, anything to do with death, is not a part of the karmic connection. Abuse is basically a byproduct of not learning a lesson of standing up for yourself. So any form of abuse, it could be physical abuse, it could be financial abuse, it could be mental abuse, it could be emotional abuse or verbal abuse. Anyone who's going through an abuse, the biggest lesson that you need to do is standing up for yourself and setting boundaries. Every time someone, even with friends, when you don't set your boundaries, with work colleagues, you don't set your boundaries, there is exploitation. So any form of exploitation or abuse is a byproduct of you not learning to set boundaries or being assertive. Now, like I said, we, by the very nature of our being, we are social beings. We are always going to have relationships in our life. And
Yeah.
depending on, it's very interpersonal, not with every colleague that you work with, you will have a karmic contract or a karmic lesson, not with every ex-partner or partner of yours. It could be multiple romantic relationships. You have a karmic connection with the person. Some people have also come in our life to teach us our lesson,
Yeah.
So suppose the person has had over 3 to 4 relationships. Not all those 4 relationships are all karmic connections, or all of them are karmic lessons. 2 of them can be connections, 2 of them can also be lessons, because karmic connections also come with a shelf life. Even with our parents, even with our children, every karmic relationship comes with a shelf life, and sooner or later it comes to an end.
Yeah. Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
I mean, it's very personal, it's very relative, depending on the person, it depends on the person's individual karmic chart as to why they've attracted the person.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And where would you kind of fit in this idea of people committing suicide? I mean, there are many layers of it, though, as a decision that somebody makes it to. But how would you could is there any way it is connected to your karma or karmic connection with you on this earth? I mean,
No, a suicide is never a part of your karma. It is a byproduct of you not learning your lesson. So when you're not learning your lesson and you get pushed over and you reach a point of a dip where you're completely energetically exploited, or what psychologists term it as depression. I talk about depression in a way that you're completely depleted of all your energy to fight back life or have a vision for your life. You make a choice. And at that point, there in choices, there's always duality. There's a good choice and there's a bad choice. So
yeah,
that choice. A suicide is not a byproduct of karma. In fact, I shouldn't be saying this, and I say this in the most humble way. And for those who are listening to this, please do not get me wrong. But this is the ultimate fact of life, of a soul, of the universal law of a spirit, that suicide is the worst form of sin. Because people who commit suicide do not move into light. So, for example, if karmically you are meant to be living your life till the age of 70 and you decide to commit suicide at the age of 40, for 30 years, the difference between your period of suicide to your karmic lifespan, you will be stuck in the astral realm, or what we call in a layman's language, you won't get enlightenment or peace or mukti. So, suicide is never a part of karma, it is a choice taken by the soul.
Yeah. So it's not even the choice by the soul, isn't it?
It's not, it's a choice by the soul.
It is choice by the soul. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Choice taken by the soul when you're not willing to learn a lesson consistently.
I see. Okay. Okay. Wonderful explanation, for what's really going on right now, and the issues that are people, like, really going through, even like as a whole. Now this is collective consciousness, what's really going on right now, so what do you think people can take some lessons out of it, and how they can begin to heal here, for what
Again,
going on for last 6 months.
so again, like I said, there are so many lessons one can learn, which I cannot really cover in, a short IGTV, live session. But the prime four lessons to begin with is focus on self-trust, self-love, self-acceptance, and self-power. Once you master these four lessons, everything else, be it balance, be it trust, be it forgiveness, letting go, understanding, being assertive, all those lessons will start coming to you very naturally. So, right now, even if in this entire lockdown, even if you're able to learn and just fathom or understand the essence of these four lessons, it's a big thing. It's half the battle won.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Because even I believe that this is a time, I think, given to us. This is what my belief and understanding is, that there's a time given to us to sit down and reflect, on what's really going within us, around us, and the earth, as a larger entity, and
Absolutely.
it's for us to, whether be, again, surrounded by the fear of it or the learning of it, it's again a choice that make, yes, people are affected, I don't deny that. There are so many people who have lost jobs, and the business or the loved one they have lost. But again, as you have very nicely, explained the horizontal and the vertical of it, that learn to kind of differentiate between the two, that where does this experience fit in, and then what is the learning you want to make out of it. It will be like completely your choice. And isn't it beautiful that we have that choice. I love this idea that we have the choice.
Always have that choice. And, all this while, I think the entire collective consciousness, who was focusing on the horizontal path or the vertical path, are feeling the pinch even more, and are finding it very difficult to deal with this lockdown. For those who've been focusing on the vertical path, it's really not made a difference to them. Like, they're like, life is continuing. I mean, nothing's changed. Yeah, we're sitting at home and we're not going out, but it's okay. So it's not
Yeah.
been a major change for them because they're so comfortable by being with themselves. It's only the people who were living by the personality, they are the ones who are finding it the most difficult to deal with this entire lockdown. And it's time to kind of, for the collective consciousness, it's a refresh button, it's a reset button, you know,
Yeah. Mm.
change the entire dynamic. So I'm just hoping, all we can hope is we learn to make better choices, and people kind of look at the bigger vertical picture rather than just continue blindly following the herd mentality of, the personality path.
Yes, yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's like, when you kind of bring up yourself to a little bit higher frequency of even thinking, for that matter. And that's what really kind of, happens even in a therapy or coaching session, where we kind of, integrate this part of it. Now, we in again, we kind of, we begin to believe here is that, as I said earlier, that we forget that this is what we are, our connection or our karmic connection or our higher self intended to do that as a human experience. So while we do the therapy, we integrate all these parts, the quantum aspect of it, the getting into the higher realm, and understanding your higher self and what's the purpose of it, and when that awareness comes to the person during the session, during the healing, or during the kind of the awareness of it, the it's like awareness is 50% of problem really resolved, that awareness and acceptance of it. So we integrate all these parts of existence, the higher self, your conscious self, your body, your mind, and your
So
emotion.
it's a very long process, you know. And what you're saying, I completely believe. I believe that what is a miracle? A miracle is a shift in perception. And even that's my work. Like, I mean, you've seen me professionally also, and you've seen me on social media also. On social media, I'm not a psychic who makes predictions. I'm someone who's just teaching people how to become aware. I'm giving teach people a different way of seeing. And I have seen great results where people come back to me saying, Tamana, your post has completely pulled. I mean, I don't even know these people, and they're like, you pulled me up through my worst time. It's just a tool. Awareness is the most important tool. And based on your awareness, once awareness basically helps you change your vibrational frequency. And once you change your vibrational frequency, you start attracting better options. And automatically, when you have better options, you make better choices in life. And when you make better choices, your awareness becomes a lot more. And then the option, so it just becomes a snowball effect for the positive.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
depression, same aspect for the negative.
yes,
So,
yeah,
awareness is, and of course, we have therapy, we have hypnosis, we have we have life coaching, we have meditation, we have so many self-help books. So it's all about awareness. The ultimate path to enlightenment is just one word called awareness. That's the only tool. In order to run any car in the world, all you need is fuel. You
yeah,
need gas.
yeah, yeah,
Similar, in order for our soul to kind of vibrate in a higher frequency and match its frequency light, the only consistent tool, the body can change, the engine can change, the entire, the way it looks can change, but it eventually runs
exactly.
on awareness is the fuel for our soul in order to attain any form of vibrational frequency.
Absolutely. And when that awareness happens, I have seen, people changing within, few days. They completely see everything from a new perspective now. So again, I always say this. They say that when you do a therapy, when you are in hypnosis and when you emerge, there is nothing that changes outside. The changes are all within yourself. Outside is still the same. Nobody outside has made that effort to change, but the only thing
Absolutely.
that changes is your perspective, the way you look at the things now with that awareness, and that how it was detrimental to their own personal growth, so
True. I mean, you and me have had discussions about this. The minute you learn your lesson, automatically there's a new world out there. You attract better people, you attract better clients, you attract better job opportunities.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
learning your lesson today. If someone who's a doctor and has got 99% in their exams will get a job in a private hospital which is fancy and up there, it's a job of a better quality versus a doctor who's got 35% will get a job in a government hospital. Now, both of them have become doctors, but the life experience is very different. The quality of
Right.
work is very different. So, for every soul, it's that awareness that helps you get those better marks. It's your frequency
Exactly.
that kind of helps you attract better opportunities.
Wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. And even one more thing that I will tell, about my personal experience with you is that even it was just my intention to learn something about myself. This is how I came across to you. So it was not even the awareness of it that I can either learn or not learn. It was even simple intention that I wanted to learn something about myself. What is it that I'm going through these things in my life? I have these questions,
Yeah.
and
I said
and
you
and that's, sorry, go on.
I said you made a choice. Even you to come and book an appointment with me and come to meet me, it's a choice that you made. So that, of course, that intention is very important because it helps you make better choices as to what is the purpose of whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. So that has been a great journey for me. So we also have a karmic connection, I'm sure. That's why we keep meeting each other,
I
one way or the other in life.
I
Yeah.
keep telling my clients and my audience that at some level we all are so connected, and even if we don't meet for years, I have clients who've contacted me after 6 years and they're like, are you still there? And I'm like, I will always be around. And then I have my old clients where now I'm counseling and coaching their children. So
Okay.
it's the karma. I'm not going anywhere. I'm always going to be here I'm here to stay for a very long time.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful, wonderful, Tamanna. It was really nice talking to you. You have brought so many different, perspective to these idea of karmic connections and learning in our life, how to bring that balance, how to differentiate your existential, spiritual existence and your physical existence. So it has been a wonderful talk with you, chat with you, and
I've loved the flow of the intelligent questions you've asked. And Arti, just save this video on your IGTV channel, which, we can share it later on our stories for people to review it later.
sure, I will. I'm going to save it and also send it to you so that you can share it later. And
Lovely.
I'm sorry to the audience if I have not been able to, answer your question. But let me just go through it. If there is any question, I'll kind of put it out here. Um, because some
I
of
think
them I
everyone
couldn't
requested,
see.
so I think most of them have requested to kind of save the session because they want to review it later. That's all I could get. I'm like, please save the session, please save the session.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to save it and I'm going to put it on my IGTV and I'll share it with you, Tamanna, so that you can also post it because I don't know how the sharing works on Insta. I'm still learning all that, but I'll save it and share it with you. So thank
Most
you so
definitely.
much, all of you joining us today. And thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Lots of love to kids and Vinay.
Sure, I will. I will tell them. Yeah. Thank you so much and bye bye. You have a good evening.
Thank you.